Welcome back to PJ Chen Design. This is PJ. Today I would like to show you how to custom this fingerprint ring and make them into a ring shank. Are you ready? Let's get started. So to make this fingerprint band, let's starting from the scratch. Let's coming into the top view, and you can use a command called picture. And with this picture command, you can bring in any of the fingerprint you have. The higher resolution, it's actually better for you to trace over. And then you can get this. Now, this is only an image on the surface. We cannot do anything unless we actually trace over each of them, right? And then to trace it, you can use this tool curve tool to trace it. But that's gonna take forever. And that doesn't work for me. I usually like to, work faster. So if you are in the Rhino 7, you can coming into the new in the V7, and you also have a package manager. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're gonna find a name. You can search the name, and the name is called Vectorize. If you are in Rhino 6 or you are in Rhino 5, you're going to use something called trace. And Vectorize is work for the Rhino 7, trace work for Rhino 5 and Rhino 6. If you don't have a Rhino 7, you can also coming into Rhino for Full for Rhino on this website, so fullforrhino.com, and you can type it trace if you are using Rhino 5 or Rhino 6, and this works the same, and it's this similar with this icon. And for Rhino 7, you can work with Vectorize. Okay, and then once you install it, you need to restart your Rhino in order to make it work. All right, so how do we actually get the things to work? We are going to type it Vectorize, and you type it VE, it should show up. And then it will come in the window and ask you to pick on any of the image that you want. So I want to pick up this one. I hit open, and you will come up this window right there. Now it will give you a preview for what that is. And I cannot move this one. I'll move it out later. But you can kind of changing the filters, the threshold, the more that you have. You can kind of moving the bar to see what kind of image you will get. So for something right in the middle, 50 something, I think that is good. You can also changing the number here to see if you want the filter size change, you want corner round, or sort of things like that. Okay, and once you like the image, if you click OK, you're going to notice that they are, if you ungroup them, they are individual close curve, and that is the things that we are going to use. So instead of using the image and then you try to trace over, that's gonna take forever. We want to use the trace app or Vectorize app. Okay, so then how do we work on this ring? So I'm gonna coming into the front view and decide the ring size and make sure that the ring size is correct, because it will be hard for you to size this one. Diameter, I want to set it for 16 for the demonstration. And I'm gonna coming into the right view and basically just draw how wide I want these things to be. So for that, I may want to have something about over 6 or 7 millimeter. It's like 1.5 millimeter thick, something like that. And I'm going to explode this one. As you can see, I only have a 2 point that I cannot edit. So with this line, I want to rebuild this one, and that's rebuild it for 3 point and on the degree 2. So we get the extra point right in the middle, and we can simply just moving up. And don't forget to join back together. I also like to use the move command to move from the midpoint to my quadrant, and always wanted to have my ring is nice and rounded. So let's go ahead to use the command for the fitted corners, and I want the fitted corners for maybe 0.6 and get something like this. All right. Now I'm going to explode it one more time because we only need the surface right there for us to arrange the pattern. So that's using the command for sweep one rail, and this is the rail and we only need this surface. So I'm going to click on that section only, and that will be the ring. With this surface, we will need to apply this texture to that surface. So we need to know how big is that surface, right? So we are going to use a command called create UV curve. And with this command, you hit enter, it's going to come out a box. And this boundary is showing the surface that we have if we unroll it flat. And this is where the boundary is going to be. So now I have all of this. Let me go ahead to group them back, and it's easier for us to scale without losing anything there. All right, so I'm gonna have this one coming to here and kind of decided how big or how small I want this texture to be. So maybe something around there. And since this is a band, so it doesn't matter where you put it in there because you can always rotate it that later onto the center. And you might want to rotate it and see which angle that you like. Okay, so let's say I really like this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them into solid. So we want to extrude a planar curve, and because there's a lot of a shape there, it might take a little bit time to run. So let's say I wanted the distance to be 0.6 and only on the one side, and it might take a little bit time to run on your computer because it has a lot of a shape and it does slow down my computer. Alright, so then we will get some solid like this. Each of them is an individual solid, and I don't need the whole thing, so I'm going to creating a box, something like this. And the same box, I'm gonna make a copy from this point to this point there. Alright, and I want to make sure that it is all intersect, and we are going to boolean difference like this guy, everybody from the middle, maybe not that little piece there, and we wanted to boolean out from this box and this box. And we can delete it. Everything is not related to those. All of these little things, we can delete them. We no longer need them. That may help us to speed it up our computer. I also don't want that little tiny piece because that might costing the casting issue. So we want to double check we don't have any small things flow around. As you can see, then we got something like that. All right, so that 0.8 millimeter or 0.6 millimeter that I have, I actually don't need that much. I just needed to go into the surface a little bit to making the indentation. So I'm going to move this one down, and we need to creating a surface by surface from planar curve to make that into the surface. All right, we want these things to flow it back to this surface, and notice that when I was making my surface, this is where the starting point. The starting curve is there. That means my pattern is going to be on the bottom, but that's okay. We can just kind of move it back. So we're going to use the command flow along surface, and this is the object. Enter. You want to click on one of the corner, and you also want to click on one of the corner over here on the target surface. Then you'll get something like this. The pattern, like what I said earlier, it will be on the bottom. Okay, so now we have this. I'm simply just going to group them. It's easier for us to, to adjust. And I'm going to hiding that one. Now we can go ahead to make an entire ring. So go ahead to join this first. And we wanted to do is go into the surface. You got sweep one rail. They got rail cross section and over there. And then you will get the whole ring there. All right, so for you to easier to see, I'm just going to rotate it 180 degrees to be like this. All right, so this now, if you look at the render view, this is kind of protruded out. And if you wanted to more like an engraving, like a cave-in looking, so we want to use the boolean difference. This one will be out of the rest of it. All right, so if you zoom in and feel like it's hard to see anything because we have a surface there and we just need to hide it, and that will be our ring. Okay, I also like to show you when you show the client, and this is kind of a harsh because if you apply any of the material, for example yellow gold, it feels like it's harsh and the rendering is not too nice. But if you are going to fit it individual of this will be really painful. So what I like to show you is we are going to save this one. And let's open the key shot. There's a little trick that you can make your rendering look much better. So this is in the key shot 10. When you bring in any of the object, you can just import it. And once you pick up your file, then you will import this one. And I have an entire playlist for the key shot, and that including all my setting there. All right. So in this key shot right there, as you can see, it is like a preset material. It's our layer color. And let me quickly to dragging some environment and dragging some material. And let's say we want a precious metal and we want a gold color there. And we do want to have a 24 karat polish. And we'll get something like that. We also wanted to have the background in white color, right? So that's what you get. As you can see, like this has a lot of like harsh edges and it doesn't look good. So we wanted all the edges to be nice and rounded. You're gonna pick up the object that you have. If you coming over here, you clicking in the scene, then you will see the whole thing has like an orange outline there. And under the property, if you scroll it down to really bottom, here is a round edge. And this is magic. I'm going to have something really small, like a 0.05 millimeter. And once you click on it, you see every single edges has that 0.05 millimeter. So then your render will look nicer with that edges. I'm going to let it sit a little bit there. And let's change another material. Let's say we want to have a silver polish. I don't know if that is showing better on your side, but if you want to increase the millimeter, let's say 0.1, maybe that will be more obvious. As you can see, every edge is rounded, so you will get a better rendering in this sense if you don't want to do a lot of fitted edges. And once it is running and seated, it will see it's much better. And I usually like to arrange my ring into more of dramatic scenes instead of just one ring standing there. And as you can see, the fitted edges does make it soft edges, make it nice and rounded. And again, it is under the property, under the scene, and you can kind of round the edges there. I hope this helping you a little bit more on the rendering part and for your presentation. There are a lot more tricks and tips on my membership program. You are more than welcome to join it for only certain small amount of a fee that you can access over hundreds of the video that is member only. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next.